Things are not getting better for BioWare and Dragon Age. The Veilguard PC gamer has completely turned on the game, and the company, one of the outlet's editors, bashed the game in a recent article and declared he's done with the company totally and completely. Roll this up over at phantompulse.com. You can find the link in the description below. Encourage you to head on over, become a paid subscriber, help support us in fighting back against this woke ideology that is infecting the video game industry and is trying to destroy our culture and society at large. So, PC Gamer online editor Fraser Brown, he's based out of the United Kingdom, bashed Dragon Age: The Veilguard and declared he's done with BioWare moving forward. He wrote an article titled, "After years of holding out hope, 2024 was the year I finally gave up on BioWare." And in much of the article, he documented his history with BioWare and Dragon Age before eventually tearing into Veilguard. And this is what he said when he got to Veilguard. "I really tried to enjoy myself. I tried so hard. I attempted to find nuggets of joy within its ham-fisted dialogue, one-note companions, and the flashy but soulless fights. But I just couldn't do it. Every time there was a glimmer of hope, it was dashed against the rocks of infinite disappointment." Infinite disappointment. The rocks of infinite disappointment is how he is describing Dragon Age: The Veilguard. Wow. He continued, "Honestly, I'm amazed I finished it. There was certainly a point where I was starting to feel like I'd rather do anything else than listen to a hot gray warden talk about his big dumb bird for the 100th time, or play therapist to a giant dragon slayer who just wants to moan about how their mom doesn't understand them. These should have been great characters, a veteran knight reclaiming his order's lost legacy, a proud warrior wrestling with their cultural and gender identity." Absolutely not. That does not make a great character. Time and time again, that is absolutely awful. Clearly done to push propaganda. And this is why these people have no understanding of what makes great characters. They don't understand why they are having these feelings. They don't understand why they're describing the game as being dashed against the rocks of infinite disappointment, because they're still clouded in this propaganda, this ideology. So they will never realize that the ideology that they are captured by is what is making these games terrible. And they can't admit that, right? Like, that's the whole reason why this is in here. Because it's like, I can't actually bash this game for its gender ideology propaganda. Can't do that. Because he wants to say, I'm still part of the team. No, that's one of the main that is the main reason why this game was an absolute failure, is because the entire studio is captured by the ideology. And when you're captured by an evil ideology, you cannot make anything good. To paraphrase J.R.R. Tolkien, evil cannot create, it can only twist and warp. Anyways, he goes on and says, "There's so much good stuff to mine here." No, absolutely not. There's nothing good in gender ideology. It is evil, and evil being the absence of good. But nope, they're just plain boring, all of them. He then says he's done with BioWare, right? He says, "When I got to the final cutscene that teased what we can expect from the next Dragon Age, it really sealed the deal. I'm out. BioWare just isn't telling stories I care about anymore. Instead of moping around, I'm moving on. BioWare had an exceptional run, but that developer is long gone. What's left is just an EA studio that makes middling games I'm not really interested in." And that is absolutely 100% correct. Once these people that made up these studios leave, the studio is not the same. It might have the same name, but it is not the same. They don't make the same type of product. They're not making the same quality product. They're clearly not making the same types of games. And they're just making something totally and completely different, because it's not the same people who work there anymore. They are no longer there. And I think we're going to see this with Witcher 4 as well. So I think that is a really, really good point. The people that make up the companies are important. The culture of the company is important. And even the folks here at PC Gamer that are captured by woke ideology can recognize that. So that is very, very interesting. But PC Gamer completely disavowing Dragon Age: The Veilguard, basically putting a death certificate on a BioWare, indicating that Mass Effect 5 is pretty much done already. It doesn't matter. Not going to play it. Moving on. You guys can't make good games because you don't have the right people there to make the games anymore. That is what this guy is saying right here. He is literally using our talking points. But what is also interesting is he did pan this game back in October when it released, but he was not as harsh in his criticism. This is kind of his conclusion of that article that he wrote back in October. He compared the game to Marvel's Avengers, not the video game, like the MCU characters. He says, it is a polished and competent BioWare action RPG that follows a safe, conventional pattern. The old BioWare magic has been codified and sanitized and now feels dated, even more so than BioWare's actually pretty old RPGs. It is as broad, predictable, and inoffensive as a crowd-pleasing Marvel movie, all flashy, clean, and easy to digest, so it has the power to be entertaining, but never in a way that will stick with you. There are no big swings, no risks, no shocks, and while I have enjoyed some of it, for most of my fourth trip across Thetis, I've been left pretty bored. So obviously, he tempered his opinion in this article, where he's now saying the game is absolute garbage, it's terrible, and it's basically ended the entire studio. And he has no interest in playing anything from the studio anymore because of just how awful the game is. So you can see how the gears are turning. Interestingly enough, this all comes, his new article where he's absolutely just destroying this game and the company comes after we know that the game is a sales loser. So despite him tempering all of this, despite all of the Access media trying to hype this game up, trying to do their best not to gut it, we still found out that the sales are terrible. The sales are not good. We know that the game director, the man pretending to be a woman, calls himself Corrine Bush, refused to answer a question about the game's commercial success, was asked by Eurogamer, how has the commercial response to the game been? I've seen stories about sales, and they seem mixed and conclusive. The game seems to be doing okay, but struggling to keep pace with Inquisition before it. Has it been a success from your point of view? How do you measure that? He responded with, not even talking about commercial success, goes on to talk about critical reception, talking about how it's a success that we actually just shipped the game. And then finally, he says that unfortunately on the sales side, that's not something we can really discuss. But of course, as we know with Inquisition, that was a long burn to get to those total sales numbers. So completely shuts down the question, is refusing to answer what the sales are, indicating that the sales are extraordinarily bad. They are very, very bad for this game. And we will find out a little bit more. Christopher Dring, the head of games industry, revealed on one of the company's podcasts that Veilguard was only the 68th best-selling title for the year in Europe. He said this, Dragon Age: The Veilguard, which came out at the end of October, that was number 19 in the best-selling new game chart, but was number 68 overall. He even said Dragon Age had the market to itself, and it couldn't find an audience. And that's really scary as we move into the following year. What was also really interesting is that he noted that Black Myth Wukong and Power World were not even on the European charts he cited because their digital sales data had not been provided to the company that maintains the chart. So it's likely that Dragon Age: The Veilguard was even lower down on that list. And then Steam released their top 100 sellers of 2024. Dragon Age: The Veilguard was in the bronze bucket. That means it was somewhere between 51 and 100. It's unclear how far down the list it is, given Steam only sorts the titles into buckets and then randomizes the titles within the bucket. So we only know that it is somewhere in the bottom half of the top 100 there, somewhere between 51 and 100. Don't really know exactly where, but it definitely was not in the top-selling games of the year. And I think the fact that it's not in those top-selling games indicates that it was a commercial failure as well, because we know Assassin's Creed executive producer Mark Alexis Cote shared that these AAA games have to sell between 8 to 12 million copies to do well, and he says only a handful of games actually do that. Dragon Age: The Veilguard clearly not in that handful if it's in the bronze bucket over there on Steam. So I find it really interesting that we're seeing the knives kind of come out from the woke Access media after it has pretty much been confirmed that this game is now a commercial failure, and they feel like it is now safe to say these opinions. And that's what these people will always do, right? They are still beholden to their corporate interests. They aren't willing to actually stand for the truth. And that is something that we will do here at Fandom Pulse and at the Trent Report. We will stand for the truth. We say it after every video. But let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable and to always, always speak the truth.